Hey fellas, welcome back. This is going to be the first video inside of Madden 08, the experience, the franchise. And as you can see here, I have installed the Football Freaks mod. All my files and everything have been put in correctly. You see the Football Freaks here as it comes on. I'm going to go inside of the settings and stuff very quickly here. File. I'm going to load up. Now you'll see, this was a practice franchise I had started. I'll go ahead and I'll save over that once we get started here. This is the 1983 file, 1986. Now this is the file that I'm going to use for the rosters. And like I said, all I've done is used the roster that I downloaded from Football Freaks, and I made a few trades, like I said, for Eric Dickerson, Jesse Hester, Clarence Verdon, and just those moves there that like I said, those guys were some of the very first players that I really pulled for when I was a kid. So this takes me back a little bit. This allows me to reminisce, and it's just fun, seeing some of those guys on the football field and on that team, and I get a chance to control them and take them through their season and control that franchise at that time. And then possibly later on down the road, if using the draft classes, I'll get a chance to draft a Marshall Faulk or a Andre Rison, maybe even Jeff George, or some of those guys. It'll just be fun. So that's what I'm looking at doing. Some of the other rosters that are available right here is the most up-to-date 2016 roster. You can see it there. I downloaded it right there. CFL, and a bunch of these deal with the college. I've not really used or looked at them too much, but I am going to load the 1986 roster right there. Load it. Yes. Okay, pulling up the rosters. And other thing I'm going to show you here is the settings that I'll be using. Game options. I'm only going to do 4 minutes. You see all of these injuries. I'm going to do it 50%. CM injuries. Hopefully, I want to keep them at the same as what I'm using. Quarterback vision, and I think that's an option within the game. If you had the the cone, and depending on how your quarterback's accuracy was or not, the cone would be wider or smaller, more narrow. Accelerated clock. I'm not going to change any of those. It is pro, but I want to show you also, let's see, visuals. I'm going to do camera angle Madden, and that's a little more close. I like the widescreen, but Madden's a little closer up. All these are the same. Penalties I haven't changed. AI. Now this is human. I'm going to go to CPU, and I have moved all those up to 55. Now I'm going to go ahead and go 60 just to make it a little more challenging, because I have played a little bit here. So I'm going to go 60 on all the CPU. On all the CPU. There's offense, defense, special teams. I'll go 60. Because quite honestly, if I went up an actual level to like All-Star or Hall of Fame or whatever the next level was on the game settings, I'd probably get blown out. So I think 60 will be a pretty good medium, with allowing the games to be very competitive, at least most of the time. And then I'm going to tell you, I'll probably get beat a couple times. Not changing any of those settings in game. I'm going to go, okay, I did up that to 90 and 80 here. I'm not changing any of those. Stats, since I'll be possibly putting these on the computer or the website, I'm going to go, let's see, text overwrite. Since I haven't started, it won't let me change anything, I don't think. Text. Let me see if that'll, no, that didn't do it either. Alright, so I'll just keep it right there for right now. I'm not changing the blocking. Alright, player management. What I'm going to do right now is just take you to the whole, everyone, all. And I'll just walk you through some positions very quickly. So you can see some of the guys, Joe Montana and the 49ers in this game. They were the franchise of the 80s, so they're going to be really, really stout. We have the 49ers. You've got Montana Marino, Phil Simms, Neil Lomax, a guy that a lot of people forget, but he was a really good quarterback during his prime. Elway, Tommy Kramer, Dave Craig, Ken O'Brien, Steve Young, Boomer Esiason, Warren Moon, Jim Plunkett, Tony Eason, Danny White, Cowboy fans. This is right at the time where he's kind of transitioning out. Aikman will come in a couple years later, or at least he will be available. Jim Kelly, Jay Schrader, Doug Williams, Mark Wilson, Randall Cunningham. There's a guy I'd really like to have on my team, but I'd say I won't be able to afford to give up what they'll want for him. Dan Fouts, another Hall of Famer there, winding out his career. Ron Jaworski. So we'll go to different position. Get to the top up here. Eric Dickerson. Now he is the top running back on this game, and to kind of set the tone there, he's just basically had the greatest rookie season in the NFL history. He's had the season where he was over 2,000 yards, well over 2,000 yards, and set the all-time record for most yardage in a season. So at this time, he's in his prime and the best running back in the league. Then we have, Sweetness, Walter Payton, Kurt Warner, not the quarterback, but a very good running back for the Seahawks. Chuck Knox during that time had a really good running game. They pretty good offense. Roger Craig, 49ers, Dorsett. Again, a lot of these Cowboy greats are right at the end of their career during this time. Marcus Allen, Freeman McNeil, James Brooks. Skipped one, Darren Nelson, Reuben Mays, Gerald Riggs, James Wilder, Ernest Bonner. This is right around the time where the Cleveland Browns fans had their hearts broken. With this mod and this game, you could rewrite history. Corey Williams. Now, I'm not sure who this is and if that's a mess up or what, but anyway, he's in here. George Rogers, Joe Morris, Herschel Walker, early years, Otis Anderson, Walter Abercrombie, Tony Collins. Some of these names I don't know. Keith Byers I do know. Very good running back. I'm only going to look at a few of these fullbacks. Excuse me. Kevin Mack, that's a guy that I like, 1,000-yard rusher for the Browns at one time. I may try to get him during this. I'd like to have him as a fullback. Now, I do have Albert Bentley down here listed as a fullback, and I'm not sure how that happened. I know on one of my Tecmo Bowl games, and that's where this goes back, is the very first kind of experiences of playing Tecmo Bowl and some of those guys or those games. But Tecmo Bowl was the first real good football game, and I remember Albert Bentley as my starting running back. So even though I'd like to have Kevin Mack, it'd be tough to kind of part with Albert Bentley to get him. Wide receivers, top is Art Monk, Jerry Rice. The GOAT, the greatest of all time there, Stanley Morgan, Steve Largent. People don't realize this guy, led NFL history in touchdown catches there for a long time. Drew Hill, James Lofton, Wesley Walker, Al Toon. The Jets had a very good pair of wide receivers there. And if I'm not mistaken, Toon, he had injuries stopped his career from really becoming great. He was a really good receiver for a couple of years, but injuries cut his career short. J.T. Smith, that name doesn't strike a bell. Gary Clark, Redskins. Redskins had some really good receivers. Mike Quick, I remember him. Roy Green, Chris Collinsworth, Sunday Night Football fame. Anthony Carter. Later on, the Vikings would end up with Chris Carter, and so they had the Carter boys there. Dwight Clark, the catch. Mark Clayton, Mark Duper, Tony Hill, Carlos, I'm not sure who he is. Charlie Joyner's good. Steve Watson, Louis Lips, Henry Ellard, Stephon Page, Wes Chandler, John Stallworth, Irving Fryer. And there's just some really good guys here. I'm going to go pretty quickly from here on out. Tight ends, we have Mark Bavaro, Todd Christensen, Jordan here, Steve Jordan, Mikey Schuler. I think it's Mickey. Kellen Winslow, Ozzie Newsome, Hobie Brenner down here. We'll go on. See Anthony Munoz over here. Joe Jacoby. Right here's Chris Hinton. I told you he's mine. Russ Grimm. The Hogs are on there. All the Hogs. Mike Munchak, former coach for the Titans. So that's kind of cool too. Is a lot of these guys, younger people will only know as coaches, but it's kind of neat to see them in the game and playing. Let's see. I'm just going to go to defense here. Reggie White, 24 years old, so you could have him for several years. Dan Hampton, Howie Long. Howie Long still pretty young, 26. Mark Gastineau down here. And, like I said, these are guys that, I just remember watching with, my dad. And this was how I was introduced to football. These guys, the greats. Dexter Manley, I'm not sure who he is. Leonard Marshall, Bruce Smith, just recently inducted in the Buffalo Bills Hall of Fame. Richard Dent, Jim Jeffcoat, Chris Dolman, Sean Jones, Leslie O'Neal down there. Get into Steve McMichael up here, Bill Golick or Bob Golick. Let's see, Tim Crumry, Keith Millard. Come on down. The Saints had a great linebacking core during this time with Ricky Jackson, Sam Mills, Pat Swilling. But, some of these guys, Andre Tippett, Mike Merriweather, Carl Banks, Billy Ray Smith, Chip Banks, Otis Wilson, Charles Haley, Mike Singletary, the eyes, his eyes, he just looked crazy out there, but man, he was a beast in the middle. Down here, Carl Mecklenburg, Matt Millen, Sam Mills, Lawrence Taylor, Wilbur Marshall, Clay Matthews. Here's Pat Swilling I mentioned earlier. Let's go with cornerbacks. Some of the cornerbacks I didn't really know or remember as much, but he had Leroy Irvin here, Hanford Dixon. I remember Dixon and Minifield from the Browns. A lot of family members liked the Browns during that day, so I did have to listen, and I knew all the Browns players. Darryl Green, just a pure great, known for his speed. See 99 over here, probably the fastest man on the game. Mike Haynes, you get down here, Everson Walls, Jerry Gray, locked down here. Get Frank Minifield down there. Should be pretty close. Ronnie Lott was one I wanted you to see that was on here. Deron Cherry, Vince Newsom, McRoy, Eugene Robinson was a big one. Let's see. Brett Maxey, I remember him. Now the strong safeties, not as, honestly, not as memorable. The kickers and punters, I remember most of those guys, Morton Anderson, and a lot of foreign type names, and I guess it's from soccer backgrounds during this time. All right, so I'm going to take you from there. I'm going to get go ahead and get my team loaded up, give you a look at them. I'll skip through the training camp, preseason, and then the next video will kind of get you started with the first week. But I'm going to go back here. I want to go main menu, game mode. I'm going to start a franchise, new. We're going to go 1986. And like I said, that will override the last one. I'm going to allow relocations. And one of the things that would be neat, too, is if you pick a historical mod, is to do a fantasy draft. And then you can, that's kind of cool, especially if you like fantasy football and you want to have a chance to mix it up. We're going to go 86. Trades on, yes, or trade deadline. Relocation, okay, done. Like I said, I'm going to pick the, it's kind of neat also to look at some of the old coaches. That's kind of awesome. I mentioned the Seahawks and Chuck Knox. They were known for their ground attack during that time. User, okay, Coates. I'm not sure who he is, to be honest, but that's who I am. You'll notice Pete Carroll here. They plugged him in with the Jaguars. Still have the Houston Oilers here. They've moved him to Tennessee, Oilers, and then you have the Houston Texans. I'm trying to see who the other team was that I was looking over. It would have been Jacksonville, the Texans, the Panthers. Maybe that's it. I don't know what I was thinking. For some reason, I was thinking there had to be 4. Maybe I overlooked. Oh, the Ravens. The Ravens was the other one that was added in. All right. So I'm going to hit. I've got user Coates, start franchise. Okay, and as I said, I'm going to skip through training camp. Not really going to fool with it. And then I'm going to simulate the preseason. Yes. And then as soon as, okay, I'm going to skip straight through it. Hopefully I didn't have any injuries. But I'm going to take you to my team management here, depth chart. Okay, Jack Trudeau, they have him starting. I would have put him in there anyway, just because I remember him. And I'm not sure what happened to Hogaboom. I remember him there, but I don't remember if they traded him or if he left via free agency or kind of how that worked. The free agency, as we know it, was not part of that game. But I'm not sure, or part of that era, I should say. But I'm not real sure. I can't remember how he left. But I would start Trudeau. Okay, halfback, Dickerson, yes. They've named him a team captain. Bentley, okay, like I said, I may try to go get Kevin Mack here in a minute. Jesse Hester, Bill Brooks. I'm going to put, I'll probably do that. I like those 3. Tight end, Pat Beach. I'm going to start Pat Beach. Hold on, let me finish this, okay? So I'm going to start Pat Beach here. My line, I don't think my line should be too much trouble here. I'm not going to fool with them too much. Thompson, I don't know too well, but he looks like he's way better than the other guy. John Hand, I remember, and make sure he's starting. Defensive tackles. Sorry, that's my daughter. She's apparently, she took a nap earlier, so she's going crazy tonight. Right here. So here's my linebackers. We have Johnny Cooks, and honestly, I'm going to try to trade, and I want my linebacking crew to be strong. These guys, I'm not going to worry about too much. Now, right here, he's a big time Colt. If you're a Colts fan, you remember Dwayne Bickett. I was looking for Jeff Herrod in the middle, but I guess he hadn't. He's a couple years later. Hopefully he'll be in one of those draft classes and I can get him. Eugene Daniel, that was the cornerback I was thinking about. And for some reason, I was thinking he was a safety. Maybe they moved him to safety later on. Let's see here. Free safety, we have Dwight Hicks. They've named the captain. I didn't notice the other one. Okay, so there's my team. And I've got to show you my kicker and my punter because, again, I remember them. Dean Biasucci, or Suchi, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I just remember him playing. And then Ron Stark, both of those guys, longtime Colts. All right, so we're going to stop there. I'm done with that. I'm happy with my players. Verdon, I didn't look, but he should have, or Verdon, he should have been punt returner, kick returner, and then Dickerson should have been my third down back, so I'm not worried about that too much. All the options up here, position battles during training camp, export, that's what if I want to export the stats and stuff, and I may do that for the reports. Went back, and I always thought this was a cool feature during this time frame of the Madden games. With Storyline Central, I'm going to go local news, just let you see that. Hinton returns from injury. Boring battle. No real things there as far as anyone winning battles. Now, national news. Middle linebacker one. Joe Theismann. Now, this would have been, let's see, he's finished up with the Redskins. He was probably a free agent in this game, and actually had probably just been injured very badly from Lawrence Taylor, where it ended his career. But anyway, he's still in here as a free agent, and he's with the Jacksonville Jaguars, which would be an expansion team. So he's won that starting job. That's kind of cool. Cunningham versus Jaworski, and it looks like Buddy Ryan, not Rex or Rob, but Buddy has named Randall Cunningham the starter over Ron Jaworski. So that means probably during the game, Jaworski will end up on the trading block. Okay, done. Now what I will show you too is with the trades, I will put one player on the trade block just to kind of get us started. Okay, new, and I'm going to put Hogaboom on there for the same reason that I said with Jaworski and the Eagles. Continue, and the thing I want, like I said, I want to up my linebacking crew, so I'm going to go outside and I move down just to kind of increase my chances of getting someone. Let's see, and then I'll go first round pick just in case. Continue, and I may or may not get any offers. I don't have any offers right now, but maybe as the season goes on, I'll get some. Okay, done. Let's see, done. And I'm going to go back to the actual schedule. And the first week of the season, I get, let's see, the Lions, I believe it is. I don't remember the Lions being very good at this time, so hopefully I'll have I don't say an easy match, but I'll have a game that I can win. Let's see week 2, just out of curiosity. I get the Broncos and John Elway in week 2. The Broncos, very good team at this time. So I probably need to win the first week here. All right, fellas. Well, that's going to end it for this session. And, the next video will be game 1. Or I may start out, like I said, trying to make a few moves right before game 1. All right. I'll catch y'all next game. Later.